The mighty Takeda Shingen, the tiger of the mountains of Kai, and Uesugi Kenshin, the dragon of Echigo, were destined to collide long before either man raised his sword. As Shingen expanded northward, conquering the fertile valleys of Shinano, the balance of the northern provinces began to tremble. Beyond Shinano rose Echigo, ruled by Kenshin, a warrior priest whose devotion to Bishamonten, the god of war, shaped his very identity. Shingen's rise was not merely a territorial threat. It was a challenge to the spiritual equilibrium Kenshin believed he was born to preserve. Shingen was a strategist of ice, calm, patient, deliberate. He calculated each step like pieces in a game of Go, always 3 moves ahead. He knew when to hold back, when to wait, and when to strike with devastating precision. To Shingen, war was an instrument of logic, discipline, and self-control. Kenshin, by contrast, was a storm made flesh. Fierce, impulsive, driven by a sense of divine justice. Before each battle, he entered deep trances that filled his men with awe. He led his charges personally, blazing through enemy lines like a wrathful messenger of the gods. Where Shingen embodied reason, Kenshin embodied passion. These 2 men, so different in soul and philosophy, could never coexist in peace. Their rivalry began long before steel clashed. It began with small gestures, alliances shifting, messages intercepted, scouts spotting one another at the borders. When Shingen defeated the Murakami clan, their lord, Murakami Yoshikiyo, fled to Echigo and sought Kenshin's protection. Kenshin accepted him. It was a symbolic gesture, a declaration written without ink. Your enemy is now under my roof. From that moment, the collision became inevitable. As Shingen secured castle after castle in northern Shinano, his armies crept ever closer to Echigo. Mountain passes that once separated their lands now felt thin as paper walls. Patrols from both sides crossed paths in tense silence, each encounter a reminder of the approaching storm. Even before a single arrow was loosed, the war had already begun. In the hearts of the men, in the shifting alliances, and in the quiet, heavy air of anticipation. Everyone knew, when Shingen and Kenshin finally met, it would not be a battle for land. It would be a battle of spirits, of ideologies, of 2 war gods staring at each other across the field of destiny. Between the rugged mountains of Shinano and the deep valleys of Echigo lay a mist-covered plateau known as Kawanakajima, the island between the rivers. It was enclosed by the Chikuma River to the east and the Sai River to the west. At first glance, it was simple terrain. Open, quiet, unassuming. But between 1553 and 1564, this quiet land became the most iconic battleground of Japan's Sengoku era. Here, Shingen and Kenshin faced each other not once, but 5 times their campaigns, marked by tension, brilliant maneuvers, sudden ambushes, and a profound mutual respect. Kawanakajima was more than a strategic location. It became a sacred ground, an arena where honor itself was tested. There was no castle to conquer, no treasure to claim. Only pride, mastery, and the irresistible pull of rivalry. Both leaders knew the risks, yet neither would yield. Each battle was a mirror, one reflecting the tactical genius of Shingen, the other the divine fury of Kenshin. On the nights before battle, soldiers claimed the earth vibrated with a presence beyond human understanding. Whispers said the gods of war themselves watched the field, judging the 2 titans who clashed. Not for ambition, but because their very natures demanded it. Kawanakajima belonged to neither man, but it would ultimately belong to history. In 1561, on a dawn drowned in heavy fog, the 4th and bloodiest battle began. Shingen positioned his army south of the Sai River, atop Mount Saijo, while Kenshin fortified himself near Kaizu Castle. But this time, Shingen planned something bold, an intricate pincer attack involving a flanking maneuver led by his brilliant advisor, Yamamoto Kansuke. Kansuke was to descend at sunrise, while Shingen stayed behind, with a reserve force to crush Kenshin's men from the rear. It was a plan of elegant mathematics, but war rarely bends to logic. Kenshin, guided by raw instinct and uncanny intuition, did the unexpected. Before dawn, shrouded in fog, he unleashed his entire army in a direct assault on Shingen's main camp. His forces moved like ghosts, appearing from the mist with terrifying speed. The camp, still reorganizing after the division of forces, collapsed into chaos. Shouts drowned the beat of war drums. Mud turned to blood. The battlefield dissolved into a storm of terror and steel. At the height of the chaos, the impossible happened. Kenshin himself, riding at the head of his cavalry, broke through the front line and charged straight toward Shingen's command tent. Soldiers scattered, as the dragon of Echigo cut through them like a blade of divine wrath. Bursting into Sengsai, Haifrei Forsarchin Ryuri. Echigo's camp, Kenshin raised his sword and delivered a deadly strike at his rival Shingen. Caught off guard, had no time to draw his weapon. With lightning reflexes, he lifted his iron war fan, the Tessin, blocking Kenshin Senshin. Blackin Sakin Pem, Saishin Blangshin Shilsen. Late at the last instant, a second strike glanced off his armor. Shingen's guards swarmed forward, and Kenshin withdrew like a phantom disappearing into the storm. This fleeting duel, the Tiger of Kai against the Dragon of Echigo, became a legend told for centuries. Paintings, scrolls, and poems immortalized the moment when two of Japan's greatest warlords crossed blades in the heart of the battlefield. As the day wore on, Yamamoto Kansuki's flanking force raced back toward the sound of battle, but the fog and confusion ruined the maneuver. The fighting grew savage and unrelenting. By sunset, thousands lay dead along the riverbanks. More than 4,000 soldiers from both armies perished, including many commanders. The battle ended without a clear victor. Kenshin withdrew with dignity. Shingen held the field, but both had lost far too much to claim triumph. Yet in this carnage, a rare form of honor was born. Despite their rivalry, despite the bloodshed, Shingen and Kenshin never grew to hate each other. Their battles forged respect, deep, unspoken, enduring. In times of peace, they exchanged gifts, war horses, armor, sacred scrolls, fine swords. Each offering carried a single message: I see you and I